thinking too much damages the spleen. It turns out that excessive worry, constantly ruminating on your problems, and overthinking don't just exhaust your brain. They literally, physically damage your digestive system.
I worked as a banker for 30 years, but now I work as an acupuncturist.
All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at a concept today that honestly might completely change how you view your body's energy. I mean, if you've ever felt super sluggish or had weird digestive issues, or just wondered why your brain gets so foggy after a big meal, the source material we're covering today has some really incredible answers. We're going to break down the concept of the spleen in Eastern medicine, and we're keeping it super simple and practical. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll define the Eastern medicine spleen. Second, we'll look at the 4 big spleen jobs. Third, we'll see what happens when things break down. And finally, number 4, the mind-body connection. Let's get to it. So, part 1, the Eastern medicine spleen. Okay, let's start with something we can all relate to. Why do you get so sleepy right after eating a meal? You know the feeling. You eat a big lunch, and suddenly you can barely keep your eyes open. We usually just call it a food coma and, go grab a coffee. But Eastern medicine actually has a very specific structural explanation for why this happens. To solve this food coma mystery, we've got to look at the spleen. Now, in Western biology, the spleen is just a physical organ that filters your blood. But in the Eastern medicine sources we're analyzing today, the spleen, with a capital S, is a whole energetic system. Think of it as the master manager. It processes what you consume and literally manages all your body's vital resources. All right, moving to part 2, the 4 big spleen jobs. You can really think of this system as a highly efficient, super busy factory. We don't need to get bogged down in heavy medical jargon here. Instead, let's just look at the crucial jobs this master manager does for you every single day. If you can understand its roles as a delivery truck, a gatekeeper, and a power plant, you're going to understand exactly how your daily energy is actually created. So there are 4 main jobs here. 1, digesting and transporting nutrients and fluids. 2, sending good, clear energy upward in your body. 3, keeping your blood safely inside your blood vessels. And 4, actually making your blood and vital energy. These handle everything from, breaking down your breakfast to literally keeping your body's physical structure intact. Let's group these together and take a closer look. First up is production. Jobs 1 and 4 are all about this. Let's call it the factory. The spleen takes the food and drinks you consume, digests them, and pulls out the high nutrition stuff. Then it uses those raw materials to manufacture the vital energy and blood that runs your whole life. Without this factory working right, you literally have no fuel, period. That brings us to the second job, which we'll call the elevator. Once the factory makes that good, clean energy, the spleen actively pushes it upwards. This constant lifting force is what keeps your brain fueled so you actually feel awake and alert. And get this. The sources point out that this upward energy is also what holds your internal organs exactly where they belong, keeping them from sagging. Pretty amazing, right? Finally, the third job is containment, the gatekeeper. The vital energy that the spleen makes literally wraps around your blood vessels. It holds your blood safely inside so it doesn't leak out. It's just a totally different, fascinating way to look at the body. Energy isn't just about feeling awake. It's a physical, structural force keeping you glued together. Which brings us to part 3, when things break down. When this master manager gets overworked, you feel the physical symptoms right away. It's a direct cause and effect. If the digesting function fails, you're looking at stomach aches or bloating. If the elevator function fails, your brain doesn't get its fuel, so you get dizzy and your head gets super foggy. And if the gatekeeper fails to hold things in, you might actually experience unexpected bleeding. And right here is the answer to our food coma mystery. You get sleepy after eating because your weakened system just doesn't have enough power. When you eat, a tired spleen has to basically borrow all the available energy in your body just to process your lunch. Because it's using literally everything for digestion, that elevator we talked about, it completely stops working. There's zero energy left to send up to your brain, leaving you stuck in that foggy food coma. But the breakdown doesn't just stop at digestion. It can even cause respiratory issues. Check this out. If the system fails to transport liquids properly, those fluids just stagnate in your body. Over time, that stagnant water turns into phlegm. And then that phlegm travels up, gets stuck in your lungs, and causes wheezing and coughing. So according to the source material, a really stubborn cough might actually just be poor digestion. Wild, right? All right, finally, part 4, the mind-body connection. So, you're probably wondering what actually causes this vital manager to break down in the first place. Well, poor diet is definitely a factor, but the sources reveal a really incredible mind-body connection. There's a direct quote from the text that I absolutely love. Thinking too much damages the spleen. It turns out that excessive worry, constantly ruminating on your problems, and overthinking don't just exhaust your brain. They literally, physically damage your digestive system. This mind-body link creates a very visible physical reaction. When you overthink and worry all the time, it harms the spleen's fluid management so badly that it actually affects your mouth. You might suddenly find yourself producing way too much drool, literally an excess of saliva. Or on the flip side, you might get a completely dry mouth. Your mental strain is literally manifesting as a physical digestive symptom. Because the spleen is the central power plant of your body, a tired spleen just means a tired you. Learning about this really drives home the point that we absolutely cannot separate our physical health from our mental habits. I mean, you could eat the healthiest food on the planet, but if you're constantly worrying and overthinking, you're shutting down the exact factory designed to turn that food into energy. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. Since overthinking literally ruins your appetite and drains your physical energy, what is one mental burden you can drop right now to help your body heal? Give your mind a break today, and you might just find your body's energy factory powering right back up. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I worked as a banker for 30 years, but now I work as an